Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing well and that you're looking forward to the spring like I am. Let's just get into it. Let's talk first about what I'm wearing, which is also my first finished object. This is the Dagmar Jacket by Petite Net, knitted in Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool. So I used 3 skeins to make this cardigan, and it's my second one. It pretty much went pretty great, no problems. I did mess up a little bit right over here. You can see that little mistake. I was knitting the diamond in the wrong direction than I was supposed to, but I don't really care. It's a little bit noticeable, but yeah, don't really care. For most of the project I used a 93 centimeter cable, and that worked pretty well. I think the total cost for this project was about $40. I don't count the pattern because I had already knit a Dagmar jacket with it, so I'm not really counting the pattern in my cost, but I spent about $30 on yarn and then about $10 for these buttons. These like wooden toggles from Amazon. Overall, it went really great. I made this on 4mm needles and 5mm needles. I think I did 5mm for everything, and then for like the main body and sleeves, and then 4mm for the edges. I started this project on November 2nd and I finished it on February 7th. So yeah, that's my first finished object and what I'm wearing today, the Dagmar Jacket by Petite Net. My next finished object is Nanna the Lady Duck. She is absolutely adorable. I love her so much. Nanna was pretty easy to knit up. I think the hardest thing was actually her dress, and even that was pretty easy to do. For her body, I used Filcolana Arwetta in olive brown, and then for her feet and her beak, I used Filcolana Arwetta in tangerine. For most of the project, I used magic loop, like a 35 centimeter cable, except for her arms or feathers, I used some DPNs. Overall, I would definitely make this again. She's just so freaking cute. I love her so much. I will say the only thing I would want to improve on is the embroidery for the mouth, which I needed to get my mom to help me with. Thank you. But otherwise, yeah, I really love her. So that's my second finished object, Nanna the Lady Duck. My third finished object, which I didn't show in my last, I hadn't even started it in my last podcast, but it is the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. I knit this in a size extra small using Patton's North America Classic Wool Worsted in the shade Navy. And I used exactly 5 skeins to knit this, which meant that I had 2 skeins left over because I had bought 7. I think the best thing that I did while knitting this was adding some barber cord in the folded neckline after I had picked up stitches, so that when I folded over the neckline, exactly where to cast off my stitches. So everything came out pretty accurate. So yeah, I think that was the best thing I did. I would say that this yarn feels a lot like Sadness Yarn Pure Ghent. Obviously there's not as many shades, but just the way that it feels, it reminds me a lot about Pure Ghent. Another thing is that I started the cuff immediately after I did decreases on the sleeve, which in the pattern she says you can knit to whatever length you wanted, but I found that right after the decreases was a pretty good length and it fits pretty well on me. So yeah, that's the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. Next, let's talk about my whips. So both my whips are whips that I had shown in my previous podcast. I'm still working on them. My first one that I'll show is the Kilometer Scarf. It's getting pretty big, I would say, which is being knit up in Drops Air in the color light beige on 4.5mm needles. So far, this has just been a fun project. Nothing really new to say about this one. Very mindless. My next work in progress is the Camisole No. 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, being knit up in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color Brown Bear. This is my third time working on the neckband. At first I had finished the neckband and I folded it over, but it wasn't lined up with the original stitches I'd picked up, so it was pretty crooked. So I unraveled it and restarted from scratch. Not from scratch, like I still had the body, but I just restarted the neckband over. And then I did it a second time, but I found that the braided feature came out pretty wonky because in the pattern, My Favorite Things Knitwear asks you to pick up stitches from the wrong side of the fabric so that you have a like braided feature. So if I can show you, and if you can tell, there's like picked up stitches you can see. So yeah, when I did it the second time, it came out pretty wonky and the stitches just didn't look good. Because I had just picked up the stitches all like willy-nilly and I didn't really care for where I was picking them up. So I unraveled that, and now this is my third time knitting the neckband. I feel like I've picked them up a little bit better, but we have yet to see. If it doesn't work out this time, I'm just going to cut my losses and call it a day. I really don't want to knit this neckband again. Something else that I did for this pattern was that I put in a barber cord on the neckband so that, like my Lakes pullover, when I fold over the neckband, I can line up the stitches that I have on my needles accurately with the stitches that I picked up initially. Yeah, it worked on my Lakes pullover, so I'm hoping it works on my Camisole No. 9 as well. Otherwise, really nothing else to say about this one. I mentioned in my last podcast that I thought the fabric was pretty like holy and see-through. I think that's still the case, but maybe that's something that will change when I block it. So yeah, that's Camisole No. 9. Alright, next I want to talk about my future plans, or what's on my queue. A few things. I have 5 things on my queue right now. First, I have the Taupe Rib Skirt by Odd Row. This is a skirt that is knit on 4.5mm needles. I'm planning to use Barocco Ultra Alpaca Natural. It's a pretty, like, nice, it's a skirt. It's a little bit fitted up top, and then it kind of has like a mermaid skirt feature once you get closer to the bottom. I'd like to make this for my mom. That's first on my queue. Next on my queue is the Chestnut Dress by Petite Knit, which is knit up on 3mm, 4mm, and 3.5mm needles. I think for this one I would use either Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, or Sandnesgarn Sunday and Sandnesgarn Tin Silk Mohair, or instead of that one, since I found it's kind of itchy, I might use a Filcolon Attilia as the mohair. Either way, I'd like to hold it like a fingering and a lace weight yarn to make a DK weight gauge. So yeah, I'd like to knit the Chestnut Dress by Petite Knit. Next, I'd like to make the Levitate Wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear. For this one, I'd like to use Drops Air in the color Crimson specifically. I've been really craving a red sweater, like very red. This one is knit up on 6mm and 5mm needles. I don't even have 6mm needles, so that's something I'd have to buy, but that's no big deal. I like to knit the Levitate Wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Next on my queue is the Sailor Slippers by Annie Germain. This one I'd like to make it up in Drop Snow. I'm not sure if I'd like the stripes or a solid version. Next on my queue is the Jenny Blouse by Petite Knit. This one I'd like to knit up in either Sandnesgarn Sunday and Sandnesgarn Tin Silk Mohair, or the Knitting for Olive Silk Mohair and Knitting for Olive Merino. This one just came out and I immediately fell in love, especially the color of it. I like to match the color, like the green tea matcha type color. So that is 5th on my queue. One more thing is I like to knit another stuffed animal from Moosh and Friends. I'm thinking I'd like to make either Moosh the bear or Hazel red squirrel, or really any of these. I can't really decide yet, but one of them I'll make in March for sure. So that's all the knitting stuff that I have. Next, if you'd like to stick around for a few quilty things, that's what I'll be talking about. Quilt related. I recently finished this little wall hanging. That is one of the vintage baskets. I just kind of did it as a test to see if I kind of like the pattern and see how I kind of worked with it. And then I got a quilt kit, which is so incredible. It's all Tilda fabrics. I feel so spoiled. That's the plan, to make a 67 by 81 inch quilt. And then a finished quilt that I made is this one over here. Sorry for the mess. Wall hanging over there. I finished that one about 2 days ago. It's just a bunch of sawtooth star blocks, but it was really fun. My first ever like real full-sized quilt. I think technically it's a baby size or a throw. I'm not really sure, I haven't measured it, but it was a lot of fun. So a lot more quilts in my future. Another quilty thing that I made are these design boards. I found that I was having some trouble keeping track of my pieces, so hopefully this will help me kind of get organized. So yeah, that's everything I have to share today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.